Hello, this is Bunton Cole with your final lesson on Visual Functional Mathematics at Level 2, Section 3 on Data Handling. And this lesson is quite a short one, but very important because it rounds up most of what we've learned on data handling. And once you've completed this lesson, and if you've been doing all your question exercises, then just a little bit of revision should be enough for you to pass the exam if you're going to take the functional skills examination. So let's get on with scatter diagrams, lesson 4 on data handling. In this lesson, you learn that scatter diagrams show correlations. You'll also learn to use a line of best fit to predict values. Also, you'll learn to draw a scatter diagram from plotted data, and finally, how to draw a line of best fit. And the keywords you will come across and need to be very clear about are scatter diagrams, correlation, predict, best fit, value, and data. All of those words are related, and by the end of the lesson you will be confident about how to use them and what they mean. So, what is scatter diagrams? Scatter diagrams show correlation, and there are 3 points you need to take on board. A scatter diagram shows how closely two things are related. So, correlations mean how closely two things are related. This relationship is known as correlation, and it can be either positive or negative. If two things are correlated, the points on the diagram will be close to a straight line. And if they're not, the further away from the straight line they are, the lower their relationship. And then positive correlations goes upward, and then negative correlations moves downward. Let's look at ice cream and the temperature. Ice cream sales and temperature are positively correlated. As one increases, so does the other. But woolly hat sales and temperature are negatively correlated. As one increases, the other decreases. If there is no correlation between the two things, then the points will be scattered all over the diagram. How do we use a line of best fit to predict values? A line of best fit is a straight line that shows the correlations. It passes through straight. Roughly, it passes through the middle of the set of points with about the same number of points above and below the line. If you know one value, example the temperature in the example I gave above, you can read off the line to predict the other values, example ice cream or woolly hats. So that can tell you whether it's positive or negative or how closely they are related. Let's look at the example. 12 people are looking for a job. The scatter diagram on the right shows the number of jobs that each of them applied for and the number of interviews they were invited to. Use the line of best fit to predict how many interviews you would be invited to if you applied for 8 jobs. Read up from 8 on the jobs applied for axis until you get to the line of best fit. And then read across to the interviews invited to axis, so you can predict that you'd be invited to 4 interviews. And look at the diagram on the right. The line of best fit is the solid line from near 0 upwards, and you can make your predictions by drawing your line from down to up until it hits the line of best fit, and then you go across to the interviews invited to. To draw a scatter diagram, plot the data, and those are your data on the right in the example I'm about to give you. The table on the right shows the age and value of 8 cars. Draw a scatter diagram of this diagram. And then you have the ages of the cars from 1 year, 2.5 years, 5 years, 1.5 years, 2 years, 4 and 3.5 years. And those are the values. Normally, the older a car gets, the less its value. Let's see whether that's right. So how do you do it? Start by drawing your axis. One should show age and the other should show value. Make sure age goes up to at least 5 and value goes up to at least 7. And that is what you're expected to do when you start. And the gap have got value. Each gap on this axis is 500 pounds. That is the value axis. And then the age axis in years has 0.5 years gaps. So the solution: plot the data as points. For example, the car that is 1 year old has a value of £7,000. So go across to 1 on the age axis, then up to 7,000 on the value axis, and then you draw across. To add a line of best fit to a scatter diagram, draw a straight line that follows the diagram on the points. There should be roughly the same number of points on each side. Add a line of best fit to the scatter diagrams that you draw above. The line will be sloping downwards through the set of points. There should be about 4 on each side of the line, as you can see on the diagram. Value, age, starting from just before 7,000 and sloping downwards towards the right, age in years. The line of best fit doesn't have to go through any of the points. It's there just as a sort of guide to show the relationships. And you should have virtually equal number of points on either side of the line. Practice question, set 1. Question 1. The table below shows some information about 10 flats available on rent. And it's based on the number of rooms and their rents, the monthly rents. So you have 2, 4, 5, 8, 5, 4, 2, 8, 9, 7, and the value in rent is listed below. A. Draw a scattergram for this information on the square grid page in your notebook. Remember, I told you that you must get a square grid notebook, which will help you a lot. B. Add a line of best fit to your scattergram. And then C. Use your diagram to estimate the monthly rent you might expect to pay for a flat with 6 rooms. Question 2. The scatter diagram on the right shows the average temperature and total monthly rainfall recorded at 15 weather stations last March. A. Use the diagram to predict the average temperature when the total monthly rainfall is 45 millimeters. And B, describe the relationship that is shown in the scatter diagram. And you can see the diagram on the board. Do not forget to draw your line of best fit. Then you can use that to answer questions. And your answers? Question 1A, you see the line of best fit starts from 1 on number of rooms, and then you go upwards, and then if you draw a dotted line to the right on monthly rent, you should be able to determine the monthly rent for a 6-room apartment. Question 1, C, £650. Your answer will probably be slightly different. It depends on how you've drawn your line of best fit. Question 2, A, 4 degrees Celsius. Accept answers from 3 degrees Celsius to 5 degrees Celsius. And then B, positive correlations between temperature and rainfall. As temperature increases, so does rainfall. So that's it on your line of best fit. But before we go, let's look at what we've learned. You have now learned that scatter diagrams show correlations. You've learned how to use a line of best fit to predict values. You've learned how to draw a scatter diagram from plotted data. Finally, you've also learned how to draw a line of best fit. As usual, please do the activities, the questions, answer them, do the drawings, practice on them, and you will be ready for your exam, really. I have to acknowledge CGP's material because I've used the materials mostly for my lessons, and I believe that those materials are probably the best fit, most suitable materials if you want to achieve enough maths knowledge to tackle your GCSEs in the near future. Thank you very much for using my materials, and goodbye.